Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Thinking to speak a little bit about Srila Prabhupada's mercy upon us. He's opened a door and taken us gently by the hand and brought us into the house of bhakti, where we weren't before, at least most of us weren't before. Something, some idea of God, something, but nothing like where Srila Prabhupada has brought us. We're very fortunate. And following this very nice instruction that Lord Chaitanya gave to Kurma the Brahmin, I wanted to read one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam that you're going to hear later in the course of this yatra also. In fact, in our next place where we're going, Rajmandari, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met with Ramananda Roy, and they had their discussion on Krishna Katha on the banks of the Godavari River. And Lord Chaitanya was asking questions. Ramananda Roy was supplying the answers. Lord Chaitanya liked to do that. Have his devotees express transcendental knowledge, and he could hear. He heard the Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. He heard the glories of the holy name from Haridas Thakur. And he heard about the goal of life from Ramananda Roy by his asking questions and their supplying answers. This was Lord Chaitanya's method of instruction. Taking the role of the humble devotee, hearing from great authorities, because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had said Ramananda Roy is a great authority in the science of transcendental mellows of devotional service. So when Ramananda Roy supplied answers, what's the goal of life and how to achieve it, we'll hear the detail of that when we're on the bank of the Godavari River. But the verse that finally Lord Chaitanya accepted is quite similar, not identical, but you could say almost identical, or certainly quite similar to what Lord Chaitanya said to Kurma. So I'm going to read the verse in the purport. It's in the prayers by Lord Brahma to Krishna, chapter 14 of the 10th canto, 10:14:3. And it starts, very famous verse, Jnane Prayasam. Jnane Prayasa Udapasya Namanta Eva Jivanti San Mukharitam Bhavadiya Vartan Stane Statak Shrutigatam Tanavan Manobhir Ye Praya So Jita Jito Pyasi Taistrilokyam. The translation: those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, stane, stita, who throw away the process of speculative knowledge, jnane prayasam. Prayasa means endeavor, so endeavoring to know the Supreme through speculative knowledge. Gyan. Jnane prayasam udapasya. Prabhupada comments in the purport, this word udapasya is a strong word. It means completely rejecting, throwing far away, giving up completely, like trash. Jnane prayasa udapasya. Completely rejecting speculative knowledge. And remember what Lord Chaitanya said to Vasudeva, with their body, words, and mind, offering all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship. That's ye prayaso jita ajita jita. He who is not conquered becomes conquered. That's a contradiction, right? He who is not conquered, that's Krishna, becomes conquered. Remember what Lord Chaitanya said to Vasudeva? By this method, very soon you will become accepted by Krishna as his devotee. And that means, it means in the spiritual world. So Lord Chaitanya was giving the instruction to Vasudeva, to both to Vasudeva and to Kurma, how to achieve that position. Kurma wanted to go with Lord Chaitanya, so stay in your position, stane stita. Lord Chaitanya added one extra ingredient. Always chant the holy name of the Lord. And then he added, take the message of Krishna. So to take the message of Krishna unto others, you have to receive it. So with body, mind, and words, offer all respect to the descriptions of your personality and activities. This is Brahma speaking to Krishna. So those who do that, who take Krishna and with their body, mind, and words offer all respect unto you through those three mediums, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. So I'll just read the purport through. There's reference to Sanatana Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on the Tan Man Manobhir. Tanu means body, mind, and words, vak. So how to dedicate the dedication of body, mind, and words unto the service of the Supreme Lord. Here, Srila Prabhupada's purport. This is the last chapter that Srila Prabhupada offered the world his transcendental purports. Here the word udapasya clearly indicates that one should not even slightly endeavor to understand the absolute truth by the process of mental speculation, for it invariably carries one to an imperfect, impersonal understanding of God. Udapasya. So, jnane prayasa. Udapasya. Completely rejecting that tendency. And that's a hard tendency to give up, as fruitive intention is very hard to give up. Speculative tendency is very hard to give up. These two. The word jivanti That's in the Jnane Prayasa Udapasya Namanta Eva Jivanti Sanmukaritam Bhavadiya Bharatan. So Jivanti indicates that a devotee who always hears about Lord Krishna will go back home, back to Godhead. Even if he can do nothing except maintain his existence and hear topics concerning Krishna. That was Lord Chaitanya's instruction. Incessantly chant the holy name of the Lord. So hearing and chanting, taking the topics of Krishna and the name of Krishna as one's sustenance. If that's all you do, just manage to somehow, however you maintain your bodily existence, soul within the body, and do that, you'll go back to Godhead. Paragraph. Sanatana Goswami has explained the words tanu, van, manobi, or by body, mind, and words, in three ways. First way, in reference to devotees, then the second way is reference to non-devotees, and the third way is reference to the Lord. So in reference to the devotees, through their body, words, and mind, they are able to conquer Lord Krishna. Thus, becoming perfect in Krishna consciousness, they can touch his lotus feet with their hands, call him to come with their words, and attain his direct audience within their mind simply by thinking about him. Like Ambarish Maharaj, Savaimana Krishna Padara Vindayo, Vaikunta, what's the next line? Vachangsi Vaikunta Gunana Varnanam. Vacha. So, he engaged all his senses in the service of the Lord, touching the deity form of the Lord with his hand, cleansing the temple of the Lord with his hand, walking with his legs to the temple, seeing the form of the Lord with his eyes, hearing the beautiful descriptions of the Lord with his ears. But first and foremost is fixing his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So by these three, he who cannot be conquered is conquered. Next, Sanatana Goswami explains, in the case of the non-devotees, the word tanu, van, manobi refers to the word ajita, or unconquered, and indicates that those not engaged in the loving service of Lord Krishna cannot conquer the absolute truth by their bodily strength, verbal expertise, or mental power. Despite all their endeavors, the ultimate truth remains beyond their reach. And third, in reference to the word jita, or conquered, the words tanu, van, and manobi indicates that the pure devotees of Lord Krishna conquer his body, his words, and his mind. Lord Krishna's body is conquered because he always remains by the side of his pure devotees. Lord Krishna's words are conquered because he always chants the glories of his devotees. And Lord Krishna's mind is conquered because he always thinks about his loving devotees. He who is unconquered becomes conquered. His body, mind, and words become dedicated to his devotees. And the last paragraph, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained the words tanu, van, manobi in regard to the word namantaha. So what is namantaha? offering obeisances. Like we say, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. I offer my obeisances unto. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the devotees can take full advantage of the transcendental topics of the Lord by offering all respect to those topics with their body, words, and mind. One should engage his body by touching the ground with his hands and head while offering obeisances to the topics of the Lord. One should engage his words by praising transcendental literatures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, as well as the devotees who are preaching such literatures. And one should engage his mind by feeling great reverence and pleasure while hearing the transcendental topics of the Lord. In this way, a sincere devotee who has acquired even a small amount of transcendental knowledge about Lord Krishna can conquer him and thus go back home, back to Godhead, for eternal life at the Lord's side. Very soon, Krishna will accept you as his own devotee. Lord Chaitanya's teachings were not something he pulled out of the air and said, here's some nice teachings. His teachings were Srimad Bhagavatam, the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he lived the message of Srimad Bhagavatam by his own example. And he taught the message of Srimad Bhagavatam through his body, his mind, and his words. He showed the perfection of this verse, which he accepted from the mouth of Ramananda Roy as being the goal of life. And in a very short 3 sentences, Lord Chaitanya gave the goal of life to Kurma. And we read, or we heard, that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains, he did this throughout his whole 2 years of travel. Everyone was given the goal of life and the means to attain it, and the inspiration to do so through Lord Chaitanya's association. So, how do we apply that? What to our lives? What does it mean? The first part of what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to Vasudeva was, don't speak like this ever again. Karma sannyas. That's impersonal. Just giving up your activity, your duties of life, and that way think, now I'm liberated from the miseries of material existence. That's impersonal. Rather, stay in your position. So, what does it mean? Stay in your position. Like, don't change. Just keep being who you are. Add a little Hare Krishna mantra, a little Bhagavad Gita verses, a few Bhagavatam verses, and stir, and you get love of God. Just add Krishna and stir. Is that what it means? Because some people have that idea. We were spending some time like looking for a very simple phrase that could, go out into the world and people could identify, because it's a very simple phrase, something that represents the essence of Krishna consciousness. And it certainly wasn't satisfactory to say, just add Krishna. Do it, continue whatever you're doing, just add Krishna. So that's not what it means. But specifically, because the Vedic literature describes a lot about what is duty. Just like that was the starting point of Arjuna's question in Bhagavad Gita, because a major part of the prior portions of Mahabharata are in relation to duty. And the wishing to know very clearly what is to be done, what is not to be done in different circumstances of life. And it's complex. We know that Maharaj Yudhisthira was asked by the troll that came out of the lake, the yaksha that came out of the lake, asking, how does one understand what is to be done and what is not to be done? What is duty? There's so many conflicting senses of duty. And that's even for people, I'll speak for myself, that from the Vedic perspective of what duty is, we don't really have a clear idea. From the Vedic perspective of the complexities of the duties of Varna and Ashram. In one lecture, Prabhupada said, if you knew, as householders particularly, if you knew what the duties of a householder were, you wouldn't get past breakfast. The numbers of things that one has to do, just, getting up in the morning and taking a bath and all the, lighting fire for cooking and there's details and details and details. Your whole day would be spent fulfilling those obligations and countering the mistakes that you made in the course of doing those things. And your day's gone. You didn't even have breakfast yet. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya made things very simple. Sarvadharmam prityaja, or Krishna made, but ma mekam sharanam braja. That's because that's the essence. Those other things are meant to take you to that one thing. Now I still have this body, and with this body there are things that must be done. The body must be kept clean, and so on and so on and so on and so on. We have so many things because we have bodies. So we have bodies that have different tendencies. Some like this kind of activity and some like that kind of activity, and there's obligations and responsibilities that go with this kind or that kind of activity. So specifically, the way that Prabhupada has chosen to translate is, as far as your social position and social obligations connected with that social position, you can stay in those. What's the term that Lord Chaitanya used or Vasudeva used? Vishaya Sagara. There's this ocean of materialistic life. Waves of the ocean of materialistic life. It goes along with having a body. There are things that connected to the body that one does. So, maintain those things, that's all right. But there's two specific recommendations that are made in this 14th chapter of the 10th canto verse spoken by Lord Brahma. Two things. Give up the endeavor for speculative knowledge completely. And the second thing is, with body, mind, and words, offer full respect and obeisances unto those messages about Krishna and dedicate one's life to them, hearing them and presenting them, speaking them, exhibiting them unto others. We find in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, I was thinking to spend a little bit of time asking you to suggest some names of Lord Chaitanya's followers that were grahastas. They stayed in their grahasta position. Some of them became grahastas under Lord Chaitanya's order. Some of them maintained brahmachari and then sannyas life throughout their life. Some became renunciates later in their life. So that doesn't sound like stay in your position. It sounds like, some of them sounds like change your position. Who are some of the personalities that come to your mind amongst Lord Chaitanya's associates who were grahastas? Let's take the Panchatattva. How many of the 5 of the Panchatattva were grahastas? 3 of them. Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, and Srivas Pandit. They were grahastas. There's a very nice description in Chaitanya Bhagavat where Lord Chaitanya instructs Lord Nityananda. The devotees had come to see him in Puri, and one of the years that the devotees came during the 4 months of the rainy season, take part in Rath Yatra, stay with Lord Chaitanya and go back. One time he pulled Lord Nityananda to the side and said, next year when the devotees come back here, you don't come back with them. Because I appeared in this world to deliver the holy name, and with the holy name to deliver love of God. But by the request of Mother Sachi, I'm here in Puri, making this my base. So you go back to Bengal and you preach liberally, distribute the holy name and liberally distribute love of God throughout the whole land. And I will give you a number of followers to go with you, my followers to go with you, and they will help you in this mission. So Lord Nityananda was very happy to have some service, but he was very unhappy to hear the other part. He said, and I have this other instruction for you. You should become a householder. And Lord Nityananda said something like, why do you want me to become a householder? All of your elevated associates, they're all sannyasis. And Lord Chaitanya's reply was, I just see you that way. That's all that's said. So he was like an avadut. Imagine being married to an avadut as a householder. That was one of the concerns of the father-in-law of Lord Nityananda. He's an elevated Vaishnava, but how will he take care of my daughter? Anyway, so he was not married, or as Advaita Acharya would sometimes criticize him, no one knows what is your caste and what is your ashram even. It was a glorification. You're the Paramahamsa. You're beyond those considerations. Anyway, he became a householder. And he had children. And Virabhadra became great Vaishnav, following the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda. Some other householders, followers of Lord Chaitanya. Don't call out, raise your hand, because otherwise it'll be chaos. Jagatananda? Vasudev Datta. Shivananda Sen. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Yes? Abhiram Thakur. Any ladies can think of some householder Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya? Where did Lord Chaitanya stay while he was living in Puri? At the house of Kashi Mishra, who was a householder. Mukunda. Huh? Ramananda Roy. A little louder. Murari Gupta. These are all great personalities, just hearing their names. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, just hearing their names, it's like chanting. One becomes purified. And the other names, householders. Gopinath Acharya. King Prataparudra. Raghava Pandit. Srinivasacharya later. So that's another category. Those followers in Srinivasacharya had 2 wives. It wasn't for the reason that some people have 2 wives. It was the order of the elder Vaishnavas, and so he accepted the order of the elder Vaishnavas. Rasikananda. We heard about Rasikananda in Puri. As he was married when he was 18, as was tradition. Vasudev Dutt and Kurma. Vasudev Vipra and Kurma we heard about today. Yes? Kolavechar Sridhar. I don't know about Kolavechar Sridhar. I don't hear anything about his wife. Maybe. Venkatabhata. Who was the spiritual master of Gadadhar Pandit? Pundarik Vidyanidhi was a householder. So they stayed in their position, and their involvement in family life was not an obstacle in their Krishna consciousness. But now let's hear some others who were sannyasis, besides the 6 Goswamis. But 2 of the 6 Goswamis previously were married. Who else amongst Lord Chaitanya's associates were sannyasis? Gadadhar Pandit, Sarup Damodar, Paramananda Puri, Brahmananda Bharati, Jagatananda Pandit. There's a associate mentioned in Navadvip, Nakula Das Brahmachari. He's known that way, Nakula Das Brahmachari. And then later generations, Gangamata Goswamini. We heard about her in Jagannath Puri. She never married. Tomorrow we're going to hear about Lochandas Thakur, who was married when he was just a child, but he never lived in a household life. We'll hear that nice description. So, some from this category, some that were eternally, or Naishtika Brahmachari, some who were married and became sannyas, some who were not married and became married, some who were married householders, Advaita Acharya, and his sons were very powerful Vaishnavas. Each of the brothers of Srivas Pandit. So, what's important for us is, whatever our situation was before we came in contact with Krishna consciousness, we need not modify or change or eliminate our social status. That's not required. Or I was just hearing Srila Prabhupada while having lunch today speak on this point. Lord Chaitanya was all-inclusive. It's not by selecting Haridas Thakur as Namacharya. It didn't matter what one's birth was. Doesn't matter. Color, religion, gender, intelligence, wealth. Doesn't matter. It was Prahlad Maharaj. It doesn't matter whether you speak in choice poetry when you're offering prayers to the Supreme Lord. It's not that you have to be a Sanskrit scholar and you know all about alliteration and similes and metaphors and all the alankar, all the ornamentations of beautiful poetry, and then you can offer prayers to the Supreme Lord. Prahlad had no education. Prabhupada was explaining a small child can't even talk. Just by making sounds, the mother knows the feeling of the child. I don't know the feeling of the child, it's just they're making noise. But mothers know what the feeling is. Somehow they have that capacity. And so what's important is the feeling with which we offer our prayers to the Lord and offer our service and engage in kirtan and engage in japa and engage in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the qualification, not the position. So that's what to do. And then there's some what not to do. Give up speculative tendencies to understand by that method. If you don't, we're so conditioned by that. What's it like if you don't do that? What's left? It's like, what's left if you don't have fruitive activities? If you don't do something to achieve something, then why do anything? You become an impersonalist. Take Mona Vrata and say nothing, and become God by just renouncing your worldly activities. It's imagination, it's not real. It's not real. What's real is the dedication of everything with all your heart. And you use your words, your vak, your power of speech. You use your body in service to the Supreme Lord. You use your mind in thinking of the Supreme Lord, and specifically finding happiness and respect is something that's within the mind. Respect unto the messages and those delivering the messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Particularly those who are devoid of pride and those who are seeing themselves and acting simply as servants of the servants of the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Offering due respect unto such persons very quickly. Like sometimes it says, at once. Very quickly become accepted by Krishna in his eternal abode. Very quickly, particularly when we consider the length of time, the living entity, we have been lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime sojourning in the material world, looking for happiness through the two things that are said to let go of. And even now, holding on to those things. Speculative tendency. Fruitive intention, even in devotional service. The means of release from that bondage is given. Primarily the means Lord Chaitanya gave to Vasudeva Datta was chanting. Constantly chanting the holy name. And giving the message. Now, giving the message means you have to receive the message. So, same as what's in this verse by Lord Brahma to Krishna. Dedicating body, mind, and words unto the messages of the Personality of Godhead and making that your life and soul. Giving that opportunity unto others. Somehow. each of us in our own way, our own capacity, our own, according to our personality and our resources and our abilities, extend those to the Supreme, on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Become His instrument. It's pretty good. He's getting it. At home, it's different. In class, it's good. That's good training. So I thought I would spend this evening session just taking that point and that Lord Chaitanya spoke and amplifying it and emphasizing it some more. We'll see if there's any, from any of the experience that we've had today, any sharing you'd like to have, or questions, or comments, anything? This discussion this evening. Yes?
I'm trying to sort of understand the instructions from Lord Chaitanya and staying in your position and share Krishna consciousness with everybody that you meet. And the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna, basically after the first chapters in the 6th chapter, finally they're going to get to the point that karma sannyas, as long as you have material desires, renunciation is not for you. You have to, perform the nishkama karma yoga. So, and explaining that Vasudeva that when he mentioned karma sannyas, Lord Chaitanya say, why don't you say that?
It was Vasudeva Vipra.
So those two positions, one of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explaining that first you perform this kind of karma yoga, and then when you're free from all material contamination, material attachment, then renunciation is appropriate, you're ready for that. And then now Lord Chaitanya say, no, you stay there and...
This is a deep discussion, and I'll follow it a little bit, but we can cover it more when we get to Rajmundari. The topic that you're covering precedes... Ramananda Roy suggested 5 things, the 5th of which is the verse that we just read. The first of them is perform your varnashram duties. Lord Chaitanya said that's external. Next was perform them for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, because there's a difference. Performing duties and performing those duties for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. The second verse was Yad Karoshi, Yad Asnasi, Yad Jahosi, Dadasi Yat. Whatever you do, do it for Krishna. Lord Chaitanya said, go further. Then he gave Sarvadharmam Parityaja, Mamekam Sharanam Braja. Give up your prescribed duties. Lord Chaitanya, that's our primo verse. And Lord Chaitanya said that's external. If the understanding is an incomplete understanding, that is, simply give up your prescribed duties. Karma sannyas. That's how the purport reads, Srila Prabhupada's purport. With the notion that karma sannyas is the goal of life, that's external. You just give up the prescribed duties. Then comes Gyan Mishra Bhakti. And then comes bhakti that's without speculative knowledge, pure devotional service from any position. That's the one that Lord Chaitanya accepted. Now, going back, because the reference in your question was Bhagavad Gita, what Arjuna wanted to do was not 1866 Bhagavad Gita. He just wanted to leave the battlefield, give up being a Kshatriya, and become a mendicant. Like what King Prataparudra was ready to do. If being king prevents me from Lord Chaitanya's association, I'll stop being a king. I'll become a mendicant. I'll give up my life if I can't get Lord Chaitanya's association. What's the meaning of life? What's the value of being a king? All of my riches, who cares? Position, who cares? Karma sannyas. That's what Vasudeva wanted to do. He was well situated, but give up his duties. Because there's for the wrong reason. There's waves of misery, even when one is rightly situated. Lord Chaitanya didn't accept that when he spoke to Vasudeva, nor when he was having his conversation with Ramananda Roy. What he accepted was, whatever is that proper position for each one of us, from which we can best, or we're most suited for engaging ourselves in devotional service, where we're most suited, that ashram and that varna, that occupation, do that. But while doing that, speculative knowledge is given up, and take this message of hearing and vibrating, dedicating body. So that's the position. It's not karma sannyas. It's not karma yoga. It's not karma mishra bhakti or gyan mishra bhakti. If it's done with the full understanding of what the verse is saying. It's pure devotional service. From that, the conversation with Ramananda Roy starts going into rasa. There's mellows of service. But it starts from what real devotional service is, where Krishna accepts us as his devotee. That means, we've accepted the position as Krishna's servant. Very persistent mosquito. There he goes. Okay. So from the heart, with dedication of the external things, this body, it's temporary. So what's its importance? In service to Krishna, it has some value. Without the service of Krishna, it's a problem. But we don't just give up our body because it's a problem. We use it as an instrument in Krishna's service, and so forth, words and mind. Our mind can give us so much trouble. Do without it. Get a lobotomy. Take some Prozac or something. But engage the mind in service to Krishna. Then it has its proper place. From that position, from the soul position, body, mind, words position, giving up speculative knowledge, and instead of fruitive work, take this opportunity. That's the verse. That's the message. Take this opportunity of the human form of life to hear and respect those from whom one is hearing, and give it to others. That's our message. Yes.
Maharaj, I think you already explained this, but I didn't understand. The verse that you quoted, Jivanti Sanukaritam, that by engaging in the process of hearing from saintly personalities, the devotee is maintained in some way. What is that maintenance being referred to?
Your question is specific to the word maintenance?
Jivanti, the term Jivanti.
Is it something that I read from the purport?
No, Maharaj, you explain it.
The verse, let's see if it comes up again just by saying it again. Because the preceding word, Jnane Prayasa Udapasya Namanta, Eva is for emphasis, certainly, Jivanti. So it's, Prabhupada expresses it in terms of complete dedication. Oh, yeah, it's in the purport. Prabhupada says that even if all you manage in your life is just maintain body and soul together and do those things, like, don't accomplish big things. Just manage to live, just maintain your existence by honest means and do those things. You're eligible for going back to Godhead. If one can do something for Krishna with a resource that Krishna sends your way, great. And that's part of the message that we spoke this afternoon also. Whether it's pious, fruitive activities or the realm of devotional service, in either case, pious, fruitive activities, there's pious results. And pious results come in the form of something, some opulence or facility or something. And devotional service, it also comes. If one's heart is impure through pious activities, one becomes more entangled. One tries to be the enjoyer. Naturally so. I deserve to enjoy. I've worked very hard. It's the fruitive mentality. But just my field of enjoyment has expanded because of my pious activities. And I'll do further pious activities by giving some portion of my wealth or my assets or my time or charity work, and I'll get more back. I'm making a nice investment in my punya account, so I get more. But then my capacity to be an enjoyer, it just keeps. And the verse, the expression that we were discussing from the 8th canto, one becomes blind to the purpose of life. Same thing can happen in devotional service. You engage in devotional service, and it's not material punya, but it's spiritual punya. And facilities come, resources come, respect comes, appreciation comes, honor comes, position comes, title comes, something comes. And the tendency is to be an enjoyer of that, and everything is lost. We become proud. If we're not vigilant, if we're not grounded in the core principle. And as far as maintenance is concerned, Krishna is maintaining me. A materialist is thinking, my hard work is maintaining me. If I didn't work hard, I wouldn't be maintained. And then they say to the renunciates, we're maintaining you. You're taking crumbs off of my plate. Here's a few crumbs. That's their thinking. But it's pious, and so I'll increase my wealth. So here's some. I forget which sannyasi I heard speaking this. It was like pretty intense. I think it was Sridhar Swami. He says, as I see people entering the temple and they're walking up to the hundi and with folded hands and put $1 in the hundi box and offering prayers, they're doing the math. $1 times 100. And a devotee should not be entrepreneurial in their relationship with Krishna, as Prahlad Maharaj was saying. There's nothing else in our relationship but this one thing. So when we have that foundation, we're a servant, Krishna's the master. The master maintains the servant. The servant doesn't think about, how am I going to maintain myself? The master maintains the servant. A loving master maintains their servant. One of the duties that Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about for householders, if you have a servant, apparently he had servants. And naturally, he's an important person and doing things, he had different servants. The servant is treated like a member of the family. They're maintained. They don't have to worry about their maintenance. Part of their service to the master is they're doing something so that there's a means for their maintenance, but their consciousness is not something separate. I'm maintaining myself, and over here is my devotional service. That's secular thinking. The worldly part of my life and the devotional part of my life. And Bhagavad Gita and Vaishnava teaching is not split like that. It's not secular. Everything is for Krishna. The work is for Krishna. And by that means Krishna is maintaining me. Krishna is giving me the ability. Krishna is giving me my employment. Krishna is giving me everything. He's giving whatever, the sunshine and the rice. And it's like we were coming back and all these rice fields and piles of hay and people, very interesting way of separating the chaff from the rice, to just throw it out in the highway. There's ladies with, big arms and big smile. They're just like, the car was coming by and she threw a big pile in front of the car. She was enjoying. But there was nice production this year because there was nice rain. And without the nice rain, you don't get nice production. We're dependent upon, upon the Supreme Lord. And a pious person thinks that way. And a devoted person doesn't just do nice things so they get nice crops or get nice results for their work. So now we can maintain ourselves in a comfortable standard of living. That's not how a devotee thinks. Not how the platform that Lord Chaitanya is teaching in any case. So there may be some mixed karma mishra or gyan mishra bhakti, but the teaching that we're receiving is maintenance is the Lord's department. We're surrendering and serving is our department. Somehow the Lord will maintain me. We act responsibly within our duties of life, but it's not me and my effort that's maintaining me. The Lord is maintaining me. And that realization is the realization of one who is fully surrendered unto the Supreme Lord, and otherwise it's mixed. Anything else? Over on this side, how about anything the ladies there? Yes?
Maharaj, on that, one of the points that you made in this last question is on the secular, that for the devotees there's no separation between work and devotional service. If we have a situation that we believe that work is not favorable for, or is not conducive to remember Krishna and share Krishna, but is what Krishna provides for maintenance, then the difficulty, if this is the right understanding, the difficulty is more on me, how I'm approaching God.
Yes, yes. If my desire was stronger, I would see the means to be Krishna conscious in this situation. If my purpose in life was stronger, Krishna I don't have to abandon my duties. Krishna will open this door or that door or whatever it is, if Krishna doesn't want me to do this for him. I mean, I don't have to be lazy, but, and just like, whatever happens, happens. But the situations of life that we find ourselves in, it's not that, I mean, what's an ideal situation in the material world? Answer, there isn't one. Find any situation and it has its pluses and minuses. Yeah, but my situation has more minuses than the other person's situation has minuses. Ask the other person. One thing I experienced as a book distributor, it was as long ago, at the Pan Am building. It was sneaking around JFK distributing books in the airport when we didn't have a permit because it was illegal. And I was going from person to person, meeting people. And one man was sitting over there with his wife. And he was just watching me. And he came up and said, "You're very devoted to whatever it is that you got. Let me see what you got." And so I showed him, I don't know, whatever the book was, and started explaining what was in it. And he was in a certain mood. He just lifted his head back and said, "You know, there was a time when I had ideals like you have, but instead I went on the path of making money, and I'm so busy making money. I've got lots of money, and here's some of it, you know, but I don't have time for my life. My life belongs to other people." And, you know, I'd be happy if I could just karma sannyas, just give it up and go back to being a simple man. And she turned to my wife, and, you know, she feels the same way, but off we go, and there he went. Oh, the grass is always greener. You know that saying. On the other side of the fence, the grass looks better. Whatever situation we're in, Krishna's given us some situation, decisions that we've made in our lives, especially persons of mature stage like yourself. There you are, then just go more deeply into how to be Krishna conscious in this situation and give Krishna consciousness to others. And if Krishna wants, he can just open another door, and there you are. Yes? Volume up, please. Body, mind, and words. Despite hearing so much, why don't we become more serious? That's your question? Our hearts are hard. It doesn't go in. Our mind and our intelligence to some degree say yes, but our hearts are hard. It doesn't go in. We have, just like Dhruva said to Narada, everything that you're saying is true. I accept it as true, but it's not going inside. Because he had strong material desire. And that strong material desire was blocking things coming in. So we can't just like snap our fingers and poof, it's gone. It's a gradual opening of the heart and receiving and softening and purifying and gradual process. It doesn't have to be, but that's the way it is, because we're attached. Yes?
This is from yesterday's class.
Yesterday's class.
Quality of pranayama
Loud, volume up.
Prahlad Maharaj's quality of saralta, what's his application?
I said it yesterday. You want to hear it again? Simplicity. That's what it means. You want to hear it again? Is that what you're asking?
Its application.
Its application is be simple. Be straightforward. Don't be duplicitous. That's the opposite. Don't put on a show of something. Internally we can cultivate humility, although we may have pride in our heart. We